President Cyril Ramaphosa has officially launched the Truth and Reconciliation Housing Assistance Project in Ndwendwe, north of Durban in KwaZulu-Natal. Families of those who lost their homes to apartheid-era atrocities in the area have welcomed the launch of the project aimed at correcting the past injustices. The TRC had identified those who had lost their homes in the 1980s and early 1990s. More than 200 beneficiaries in Ndwendwe are on the list. 82-year-old Bilepi Manzi is one of them.
I lost 5 goats. They took all of them and left the house. I left and went to stay in Guamashu. I'm happy today, even though I have been struggling for a very long time. It was hard knowing that I'm never going to get my goats back, and I made peace in my heart that I was never going to get them back.
And finally, further afield, U.S. President Donald Trump is showing no sign of backing down as his latest ultimatum approaches for the removal of restricted passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran has already rejected the idea of a temporary ceasefire. The BBC's Liz Doucet reports.
President Trump has been issuing these ultimatums and these deadlines since March the 21st. So here we are again. We understand that mediation is continuing, if not intensifying, given the dangers on this brink. For President Trump to be able to say, well, there's been progress again. This is what he said repeatedly since March the 21st. I'm going to give it more time. Yesterday, he described Iran's proposals as significant, but not good enough.
The top story at 1, Tshwane Metro Police Department Chief Yolande Faro has considered that not all her subordinates have security clearance. She is testifying before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria. For SFM News, I'm Kolofelo Defo.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
There's something new happening on SABC2. Fresh stories, bold moves. It's just a whole new vibe. And I'm part of that vibe in Pimville. My name is Jesse Suntele, and you can catch me Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. Living every beat, the pulse of SA.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Hey, a hearty good afternoon to you. I hope all is well on your side of the world. Hopefully the weather is holding up in your corner of the country. Woke up to a bit of a gloomy grey Johannesburg from our side, but you do know that I love a little bit of that weather. For me, it always reads romantic. Would rather be doing this show from the comforts of my couch, but here we are nonetheless. They are back to much anticipation. A lot of folks are very happy considering the chatter on social media that the Madlanga Commission is back in session as of today, and we're going to be catching up with our very own SABC News reporter, Spatle Mota, around everything that has transpired thus far. Today is also hashtag World Health Day, and we're asking the question, does the gym intimidate or inspire you to take charge of your health? Always an interesting question, this one, because I think it just depends on which side of the bed you woke up on that morning. So if I was to answer it today, would definitely say that it inspires me to take charge of my overall health. It's always a good release, a good way to get the endorphins going. But had you asked me yesterday when I decided to skip the gym, might have been a bit of a different answer. Looking forward to your input on this. Does the gym intimidate or inspire you to take charge of your health? It is reported that 2/3 of women are too scared to walk into a gym. I can understand this. Also explains why a lot of gyms actually have feminine areas dedicated exclusively just for the women. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. Feel free to send us a voice note, or you can give us a shout on 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on. We have a brand new team member, and she's quite dedicated to social media, so I would be amiss not to tell you to follow us on @SAFM Radio and @Bridget Masinga, hashtag The Full Circle. She's running a poll. She wants to know from you, does the gym intimidate or inspire you to take charge of your health? A quick pause, and then we come back with Tshwane Metro.
Wherever you are in the world, SAFM 104 to 107 is accessible. We're also streaming live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAFM Radio. We acknowledge and appreciate everyone tuning in and watching our streams. Stay with SAFM 104 to 107 as we bring you Commission Live, breaking stories, and thought-provoking lectures. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
They're back after a bit of a break for the Easter, and of course to deal with some other matters by way of graduation season, specifically for Justice Madlanga. So we begin again today, day 85, as the count continues of the Madlanga Commission. We're catching up with Tshwane Metro, SABC News reporter. And we last connected with you, Tshwane, towards the tail end of March, ahead of that Easter break. And today we return for day 85. I mean, on a lighter note, before we get into the seriousness of Madlanga, a lot of people on social media today, very, very happy. Folks have been counting down since yesterday. You would think it was the return of their favorite TV series.
You know, I've also picked that up. You know, while some of us know just how hectic it is, I was really happy for the break, right? But I've seen people are like, oh my gosh, I miss Madlanga, I miss my commissioners, you know. But it's always so nice coming back, and especially seeing some of the effects that the Madlanga Commission has had, even the likes of Sergeant Gosi appearing before, you know, courts this morning. So it was somehow missed, but I'm also very glad to be back.
Absolutely. Well, let's circle back to how the Tshwane Metro Police Department is sitting at the commission today, because that's where we left it as they entered the Tshwane Metro Police Department issues.
No, definitely. If you remember, if we go back to the terms of reference of the Madlanga Commission, that, you know, the president had said needed to be looked into, the city of Tshwane and the Metro Police Department are among the terms of reference that are being investigated. So it's one of three traffic law enforcement agencies that are being investigated. And if you remember, the city of Tshwane first made its appearance, if I could say that, through the testimony of Sergeant Ngozi, as well as the testimony of Revo Speed. And what Revo Speed had said is that, you know, there were certain companies that were preferred for certain tenders, and it's seemingly in the middle of it was Sergeant Ngozi, who somehow was facilitating certain conversations, procurement conversations between the CFO as well as the suspended Deputy Police Chief Umashi Dlamini. So this is why we are here at the Madlanga Commission now with the Chief of Police, also just giving insights regarding that matter. So the city of Tshwane has as well been involved in allegations of tender fraud, which was obviously assisted by some of its top officials, as well as the Metro Police Department.
Yeah. Let's also, you touched on Sergeant Ngozi, who was on the stand before the commission took this Easter break. We're seeing some of those developments from the raid of his house and, of course, his appearance at court, in fact, appearing in court today.
Yes, definitely. So, there was that story broke by an individual on social media, and a lot of the media houses did not really get that confirmation. I remember even speaking to Brigadier Glenda Mate, who said we should know by either Monday or Tuesday because they were keeping his name mum, and that is standard procedure to say, people cannot be named until they appear. But what we saw is that there was a raid that was conducted at his house. I think police also seized some dockets as well as some firearms, which were not kept according to standard. So these are some of the charges I think that have been put against him, and he subsequently appeared in court. And one of the things that I picked up is the fact that media could not broadcast in court today because they had brought a court application late, which was this morning. Standard procedure is that we need to bring the court application to broadcast some of these proceedings a day before, but the NPA had actually cited the fact that yesterday was a public holiday, and therefore the media couldn't have had, an opportunity to file, as well as the magistrates also to receive their application. So my understanding is that chances are that if he's not granted bail today, it's seemingly, then chances are that he'll definitely, the proceedings will be broadcast in his next appearance.
We this morning, by the way, we were seeing Commissioner Faro on the witness stand, and it seems like a pretty cordial session thus far. In terms of the context of the city of Tshwane, what is the significance and importance of the information that she's there to share today?
So what I've picked up, Bridget, is that there are so many, similarities in regards to testimony we've heard from Ekurhuleni as well as the Tshwane Metro Police. And this includes, the clearance of certain police officers, where she came and admitted that some of her deputy police commissioners, do not have a clearance, a security clearance. And even we heard, Commissioner Sandile Khumalo even asking her to say, why did you not ensure the fact that your deputies who are there assisting you also have a clearance certificate? So sort of alluding to the fact that the suspended deputy police officer, Umashi Dlamini, was one of the people who did not have that security clearance. And I think this is similar testimony that we've had before, even in the city of Ekurhuleni, where even, the life of Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi did not want to undergo vetting. And you are seeing these, sort of similarities that somehow become this breeding ground for corruption within the city of the metro city. And we've also heard how, she spoke to the issue of Sergeant Bosi, saying that he had no authority to be facilitating these, procurement processes. And the fact, she wasn't even started to hear his testimony because he's not even employed in the city. So yet again, we are seeing how, certain individuals are also in sort of, allowing certain procedures to go through because they are working with criminal syndicates within these law enforcement agencies. So I think quite a lot of her testimony is speaking into these unlawful tenders that were given to certain security companies, and she was aided by the CFO as well as the deputy police chief.
It will be interesting to see, how far the rot and the criminality goes in the city of Tshwane now that we are squarely focused in that particular metro.
No, definitely. And I think, even Commissioner Sandile Khumalo was saying that what you've heard and testimony presented by River Speech is just the tip of the iceberg. And I think it will be very, very interesting to hear some of the corruption scandals that have gone on, in the city of Tshwane. I mean, even the fact that there was a security company, Goobies 85 Solutions, that received approximately 60 million rand from an irregular tender. And apparently this was for work that was not even done. So I think as we delve more into these testimonies as well as some investigations that have been done by the commission, we are definitely in for a surprise as well in the city of Tshwane.
All right, Smahle, we'll leave it there for today, but it's good to have you back on air with us. And of course, we'll be touching base during the course of the days as things unfold there at the Madlanga Commission. That was Smahle Mota, SABC News reporter, bringing us what's happened thus far on day 85. We are back at the Madlanga Commission. Oh, there was a question for Smahle and we've let her go. But perhaps we can, So if you do have a question or you want to make an observation, you're more than welcome to do so. We know you always have a lot on your mind when it comes to the Madlanga Commission. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. Perhaps you just want to share some sentiments around your happiness that it is back. Or you want to make an observation around what you hope will be unearthed and uncovered when it comes to some of the criminal elements in the Tshwane Metro and the consequences that we've been seeing, obviously sort of unfolding parallel to the commission that is sitting in real time. We still are asking you that question. You don't have to be a gym bunny to respond to it, and you can go on our social media platform, X in particular, and weigh in on the poll. Does the gym intimidate or inspire you to take charge of your health? 18 past 1 o'clock, a quick pause, and then we'll be right back.
As we celebrate 90 years of existence, SAFM takes you back to the voices that shaped a nation.
Berea, the home of the four bespectacled Tshwane brothers, all of whom work or have worked on the English service, particularly Audio Mix and Radio Today. Watch how the night proceeds towards dawn.
And
I need a lot of consoling when I started the early program. People couldn't believe that John O'Donnell and B. Reid were chosen for the early morning program, because if ever two announcers used to want to swap a morning shift for an afternoon shift, John and I would do it.
90 years of trusted voices. This is SAFM.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
New Zealand won the T20 series comfortably by 4 matches to 1. Joined on the line now to chat all about this and various other cricketing matters by SABC sports journalist and reporter Benjamin Leshoro. So it's been a series full of fascinations already.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, Michael. It's exactly what, as a fan watching from home or as a neutral even, you'd love to see when two international sides meet. Unfortunately for the Proteas, they were undone by a brilliant knock by Amelia Kerr in the second ODI and find themselves now having to fight for the series. They could have won it there, but now it's all on a knife's edge.
Top Sport on SAFM. You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
All right, we are talking to Tshwane Metro now, who's a writer, trainer, and speaker, and we're having a conversation around how to charge like a grown-up. And Tshwane penned a thought piece that starts off with, I didn't always know what to charge. And back in 2005, when I started my business at the age of 25, I used to ask my mother. She had literally no experience in my field, but she was available and she believed in me, and she had plenty of opinions. And so today we are having that conversation, which I think is a conundrum a lot of people starting out in business or at the beginning stages, the first couple of months and years perhaps in business, struggle with around the how to charge for their services and of course the work that they are in. Tshwane, good afternoon to you. How are you?
Thank you, Bridget. Fine, and you?
I'm all right. Thank you so much for taking the time. Much appreciated. I've heard this question, in my personal circles. I've heard this question from consultants and people who render services. It's always there. I don't know what I should charge. So it's not an uncommon thing for any person going into a business or setting up a business.
Absolutely. It's not an uncommon thing for new entrepreneurs, for startups. It's a very, very common thing for women. And in South Africa, I find that we are quite sensitive about money, more so than in the global north. South Africans are quite sensitive about. We look quite hard for signals that it's okay to charge what we need to charge.
when you say we look quite hard for signals, you know, what kind of signals? Because I'm thinking, shouldn't there be some kind of formula, some kind of metric, obviously dependent on the sector and the industry that you're in, but shouldn't there be some kind of rate scale that can be referenced versus a feel it in the wind?
Yes and no. So I think there are sort of standard accepted industry rates in certain fields, but I think by and large, when we're starting something new, or when we are in consulting or freelance work or any sort of creative work, it's very hard to peg your rate to a suggested norm. And you know, the rates can range. I mean, if you just take freelance copywriting as an example, the rates can range, if you take them hourly, anywhere from 250 Rand an hour to 4,000 Rand an hour, depending on the industry, the level of specialization, how experienced the person is. So I would love to say, yes, there are rate sheets that you can download from the internet that will tell you what to charge, but that just isn't the case.
You say, you know, that when you started out, as ridiculous as it might sound, that you really began pricing based on what you thought the client would find reasonable. Now, is this the right kind of approach, the progressive approach for a business person?
No, do not do what I did. Bad. So what I used to do when I was firstly young, and secondly inexperienced, and thirdly not business minded when I was 25, 24. So I would sort of imagine that I were the client and then charge them what I thought would be reasonable if I were them. But that's a very stupid way to charge for your value, because you're doing what I call charging from your own wallet, not from the client's wallet. And the client budgetary parameters that in no way mimic my own. So it makes absolutely no sense to charge what you think seems reasonable and fair. You've got to have a minimum base level of your understanding of your own value.
Yeah, I was about to actually ask, because it almost speaks to that psychological maturity, as you say, the understanding of your own value and your own worth. Mix that in with your skill set and your experience and the level of professionalism, all are sort of, I guess, gauges that you can use, or line items that you can use to gauge where you are at. Because when you charge from the perspective of what you think your client can afford, 9 times out of 10, your client could have afforded to go way, way more than that. You almost undervalue yourself, because a lot of us have imposter syndrome anyway. You undervalue yourself.
Absolutely. So I recommend something totally different. So instead of the subjective, feelings-based setting of rates, which just simply doesn't work for most of us, I recommend setting what I call the minimum acceptable rate. So that's obviously different for everyone, and it's the rate below which it is not worth it to get out of bed. And I have a sort of a very simplistic formula for that, but once you've worked out your rate, you then add to that tax at 25%, just as a sort of a ballpark 25%, and then you add padding for your niche, how specialized you are, your weight, in other words, how experienced you are, and the level or extent of demand for that service. So you add those 3 things on, and that's where you get your base hourly rate. And then, I mean, in an ideal world, no one would be charging per hour either, because that's not feasible, but it's a good start.
Yeah. By the way, Tiffany, as we got into this conversation, just curiosity, because a lot of our listeners are probably thinking, well, what business, were you in, and are you still in it? And
so how does she know what she's talking about? Well, I'll tell you. So I was in publishing when I was 24, and I left my job quite unexpectedly. There was a sort of a leadership change that changed everything overnight. So I packed I had a little Typek paper box, and I packed my stuff into that, and I got into my little Uno, and I drove home to my house that I lived in with my mother, because I, left home rather late. I was a late bloomer. And I sort of started my freelance business then from home, because I didn't have anything else to do while I was looking for another job in publishing. And the only thing I knew how to do after 3 years in publishing was write and edit. So I started a freelance writing and editing business, and that is the business I'm still in now, 21 years later. Less editing, more writing. And I teach writing and speak about writing. So that's what I do, and that's what I've done for 21 years, and I've done it all over the world and worked for 700 brands in 16 countries. And I've had to come up with my own rates all along because, as I said at the beginning, the range of rates for what I do is so enormous. So my rate changes year on year, but I've had to be able to defend that rate every year.
Yeah. Does it help to some degree that for instance, in the world of publishing and specific to writing, there's almost a template of sorts? Yes, it's a wide range because it can go from the lowest rate of a young beginner writer all the way to someone of your caliber. But the fact that there actually is that scale at very least gives you a bit of a foundation, because if you're coming out of varsity, you kind of, as a writer, you go, well, one word is X amount in rands.
I mean, I think there are pluses and minuses. No one's ever asked me that question before, Bridget. That's a brilliant question. But I think there are pluses and minuses. I think on the plus side, yes, a newbie coming straight out of varsity has a sense of where to start and what the aspirational end point might look like. And they can also peg themselves where they start perhaps charging rates that are completely unrealistic for their level of expertise. So that is useful. But unfortunately, what happens is the client or the industry has the very broad range in their minds as well. So when I come in with my 3,000 Rand an hour, they're like, I can get it for 250. And then you have to have the discussion about what they can get for 250 relative to 3,000. So it's good on the one hand and potentially limiting on the other. I would prefer a much tighter range of rates, or at least suggested rates that were tiered according to lightweight, medium weight, heavyweight, and then what I call myself, which is sumo wrestler. After 21 years, I think I'm more than heavyweight now. I'm old,
Yeah.
So now it's very heavy.
Makes sense. Let's pause there for a second for the headline news. We'll come back. We'll get a little bit deeper into the minimum acceptable rate, that formula, and packing it a little bit more. And also perhaps for folks in terms of how do they begin defending that rate, because you speak about that in the opinion piece. A quick pause for Khulufelo, who's coming through with the headline news, and then we'll come back on the other side.
Thanks, Bridget. Good afternoon. In the headlines at 1:30, the case against Sergeant Tshwane Metro has been postponed to the 13th of this month at the Pretoria North Magistrates Court. Nkosi's arrest follows a raid at his property in Pretoria on Thursday last week. Former acting NDPP advocate Mokotedi Mshe has denied acting on political instruction when he removed former head of the NPA's Priority Crimes Litigation Unit, Advocate Ackerman, from dealing directly with TRC cases. And beyond our borders, there are reports of heavy fighting between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces in Dilling and South Kordofan State. I'll have details on this and other stories at 2.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
We are in conversation with Tiffany Markman, who's a writer, trainer, and a speaker. And Tiffany wrote a piece sharing some insights based on her personal and professional experiences around how to charge like a grown-up. It can be a very tricky thing, especially at the beginning of one's business, or even not at the beginning, Tiffany. I'm also thinking as your business scales up and things evolve, that, that jump from lightweight, medium weight to sumo wrestler, where you now have to stand firm in the fact that you command a particular rate based, and it's non-negotiable because it comes with everything else that formulates why you are there.
So I wouldn't say non-negotiable, but I would say negotiable within very tight limits that you need to set before. And absolutely, as you point out, the difference between setting and defending your rates as a newcomer and setting and defending your rates as a latecomer or a veteran there is a significant difference, but it's equally important in both cases. So some people, for example, are highly, highly experienced, but they start their solo businesses later in life. So they're bringing 20 years of experience in whatever field it is, but they're very new to consulting, so that's very different to a new, just fresh out of college.
Makes sense. When it comes to defending the rate, or maybe before we even get there, the minimal acceptable rate. Everyone must, I believe in this. We are slashies in this industry. So when I'm emceeing, moderating, facilitating, I have a bottom line that I will not cross. And no matter how much the money is needed, I will not cross that line.
No.
I have my own reasoning around it, but perhaps you can talk to why you say we must know our minimal acceptable rate. And does that have an adverse effect on you down the line also if you break that rule? For one client, could it come back and ricochet to hurt you somewhere down the line?
Well, let's see. So I firstly like the slashy, your identification of yourself as a slashy. I think today most of us are writer / trainer / speaker / consultant / strategist, whatever it might be. And you need an MAR for each of your hyphens, for each of your slashes. So it's no good having one MAR, a minimum acceptable rate, for everything, because that's not practical. You need an MAR per slash. So here's how you do it. It's very simple. You take whatever your personal monthly costs are. So obviously you have to calculate those. You take whatever your business costs or business overheads are, you add those together, and you then divide that by the number of hours you actually work in a month. And then you factor in tax. And what you get is a baseline. So just to give you an example, let's say we had 8,000 Rand personal monthly costs plus 1,000 Rand business overheads. That's 9,000 when you add them together. And then we divide that by the number of hours we actually work in a month. And let's say that's 168. What we would get, I think if my maths is correct, and I'm doing it in my head because I don't have it in front of me, I think is about 66 Rand an hour. You'd factor in tax on top of that, which is 25%, let's say. And then, so that rate with the 25% is the rate beyond which it does not serve you to get up in the morning. Like it's costing you money to do the work. And that's why you have to add context. The space you work in, the level you operate in, the demand for what you do. So if your work is specialized, if you have experience, if people seek you out rather than the other way around, your pricing must reflect that. So you must add in layers of costing on top of the base for those things, because if you don't do that, you're charging too little for your work. And what will happen then is over time, it won't be financially sustainable, but you will also find yourself becoming incredibly resentful. So that's my warning to you. You said, well, what happens if the person really needs the money? Like, let's say it's what they normally charge, but they really need the work and they don't have anything else going on. You can absolutely accept it at half of your base rate, but you will feel resentful if you do too much of that over time. And it creates an inconsistent understanding of your value in the market. So client A will say, oh, she did it for me for 8 grand. And client B will say, oh, she won't take less than 16 from us, you know? So that's the kind of thing that one needs to take into account. The other thing with the MAR is that the hours you bill are not the only hours you work. So you know this yourself as a radio personality who is also an MC, who is also a facilitator. You can't charge just for the hour you're standing on the stage MCing. You need to charge for the time it took them to brief you, the time you took to prep, any work you may have done on the scripting, any admin stuff you may have to do afterwards, invoicing, chasing, You've got to factor in that whole category of background time, admin, proposals, marketing, finance. If you base your pricing only on the billable hour, you underestimate true operating costs, and a business can't function like that. So there's a lot of, the MAR is sort of it's not even your cost, it's below cost. Once you add in tax and your niche, your heavyweight or lightweight, and your demand, that's cost. And then we start from there.
As we begin to wind down the conversation in the piece, you also highlight the fact that, and we know this of women, right? Professional women are really just excellent at what they do and they're overachievers. But when it comes to the conversation around money and rates, oftentimes that imposter syndrome comes to the fore and women undervalue themselves in most positions.
Yes. So we find it hard to we find it hard to safeguard our worth. So the minute we enter into some kind of a negotiation, we feel like we have to just discount without revising the practical elements of the project. So what I want women to understand is that most men see negotiation like a game. Women see it like going to the dentist. It's unbearable for us, and they quite enjoy it, men. So we need to start seeing it a little bit more like a game and a little bit less like the dentist. And we have to be braver, and we have to be more objective and more specific. So let's say that you go to a client with 16 grand and the client says no. You don't say, okay, I'll discount it to 12. You say, well, I can shave the following deliverables from the output if you need me to come in at 12. So you either change what's included or how long it will take or when it will happen or whatever, but you pare down the deliverables or the scope. You don't pare down your value. Your value should be your value.
Makes perfect sense. You've just given me a different perspective. And for my last question, you say a few practical habits that make it easier. Never apologize for your rate and say the price clearly and then be quiet.
Yeah, we are so desperate to fill silences. I'm sure you get this on radio all the time. Women, if you are listening, once you've said your price, close your mouth and stop speaking. Whoever speaks first loses. Just say the price and be quiet and let them fill the gap. Give them space to respond. Please resist that urge to fill the silence with explanations.
I'll be moving forward with some of your practical advice, that's for sure. Definitely will not be leading with, well, if this does not work for your budget, we can talk.
Not solid phrasing. You can do better than that.
Absolutely. Tiffany Markman, thank you so much for the time. That was Tiffany Markman, writer, trainer, and speaker. Hopefully you got some sage advice as you move into the year with the ability to cost properly for your time, your services, and your professional skill. It is 20 to 2 o'clock. A quick pause. We come back with Liesel van der Westhuizen.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365, Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
All right, let's catch up with Liesel van der Westhuizen now. It is hashtag World Health Day. And the question to you on social media is, does the gym intimidate or inspire you to take charge of your health? How often do you visit the space, and are you even keen to give it a try? Some people might say no. How are you, Liesel?
I'm so good. How are you? Did you step into a gym this morning?
If I'm being honest with you, because I can't lie to you, I did not step in this morning, but I'm a good little gym goer.
Oh, you're a good gym goer. Yes. And the scary stat is so many women aren't, and it's not because they're lazy. And I just want everyone to know that you're not lazy because you're not stepping into the gym. You're just feeling overwhelmed, and your brain is taking over and trying to keep you safe. So that's not lazy. So that's the first thing we need to get out the way.
Absolutely. On this World Health Day, the theme is Together for Health, Stand with Science, and celebrating the power of scientific collaboration to protect the health of people, animals, plants, and the planet. But if we're bringing it closer to our habits, particularly as they talk about gym, you are right, Liesel. I would agree that gym can be a bit of an intimidating space, more so for women than men. What have been some of the conversations or the readings you've come across that speak to that, and what influences that?
So the big thing is 65% of women fear being judged. Then the second fear is that you feel that you're not fit enough to begin. And you're already telling yourself that in your mind. Your mind then thinks, your brain thinks, oh, you're not in a safe space. It sees it as a social threat, then sees it as a danger. Then your cortisol level spikes and your brain goes, no, get out. So that is avoidance. It's your brain saying, avoid the area. It's not a weakness. It's just how you are setting up and setting your mind for that. And that's the buzzword at the moment is gym intimidation, the barrier of keeping people out of spaces designed to improve health. So I want people, especially on this day, to know that it's okay to feel like that and what steps you need to do to be able to take that first step into a gym or into a space where you feel comfortable enough to work out.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about, I don't know, I feel, and I don't know if I'm correct or not, if you're listening, maybe you can share your perspective. I feel that the gym is the one place that's an equalizer, because no matter how perfect the body looks to you, looking at someone else who's like a serious gym bunny and a health fanatic, the fact that they are in the gym means that they feel as though they're still far from whatever their version of satisfaction and contentment is. So I try to approach it from that perspective, that it doesn't matter what size you are, what your body looks like. When we are in that physical building, we all pretty much are saying that we have some physical issues with our bodies.
And I love that. I love that. But to get your mind there, to get to that point, how long did it take you to get to that point? For you to walk into the gym, or for you to feel that feeling, or to talk yourself into it exactly the way you've just described? I think that's incredible. The equalizer.
No, it took me a while, I'll be honest, because my first gym visits, I used to go to a gym that has a dedicated women's section. You know, like a private enclosed section in the gym. And I felt most comfortable there for the longest time before I ventured out to the main gym. And the irony of that, then when I got there, I thought, oh, okay. It's more the machines that are making me feel weird.
Exactly. So it was talking your way into it. And we've all got that little voice that creeps in, and your previous guest also mentioned it. You mentioned imposter syndrome. It creeps into the gym context as well. That voice going, who do you think you are? You're not good enough to be here. You're not fast enough. I don't belong here. Everyone's going to judge me. I have no idea what I'm doing. And that's the big voice that we've got to quiet. And you've actually got to flip the script and say, instead of do I belong here, what am I here to do today? So what is your goal for going to the gym? Is it to be healthier? Is it to start a new class? Is it for one of your goals that you set yourself? And shift the idea from a threat to a task focus. And your brain, give it that task. So it goes, what am I here to do today? Today, I'm just going to walk into the gym. That could be your only task. One small step. Done. Tomorrow, what's your next step? I'm going to walk into the gym, park reception, and I'm going to walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to leave. So you're making these really small, manageable changes in your brain to allow your brain to see that it's not a threat. I'm not going for an hour. I won't manage an hour. But if I can just walk through the door, that's a win enough for me today. What am I here to do today? Is it just to walk through the door? Is it just to go get a coffee? Is it just to sign up? Then you take the next step. So make it really small, manageable, and doable steps. And then also, there's so many gyms out there. Gyms are like dating. You won't find the perfect one straight away. So go and date a few gyms. Go and try out other gyms and see where you feel that you belong. Check out the gyms in your community. And not necessarily, you don't have to, not even gyms. You could go look at a walking club, a running club, a hiking club, a cycling club. Hula hooping clubs are big in Cape Town at the moment for some reason. So go and find, and you're laughing because that's what it's supposed to be. Your workout must make you smile and must make you laugh and enjoyable.
Absolutely. I like that advice as well, because you might find you don't like the physical space of a gym, like a traditional gym, but you do love the activity of something else. Maybe you enjoy boxing or the hula hoop club, as you say. Finding the thing that works, or roller skating. Find the thing that works for you. You part of the conversation is you've put out a call and almost challenge to the fitness industry. Talk to me about that, because you're saying that they also have a little bit of responsibility in this conversation.
Absolutely. I think there must be, and I've seen this at a few of the boutique-style gyms, where they create this environment where beginners feel that they're welcome, where they have a member that welcomes you when you come in. So it's not just a staff member, or they assign a member to you when you join to say that's your accountability partner, or the person that's going to be here, that friendly face. So you don't only have the receptionist or the staff as a friendly face, now you have a member that takes you around and introduces you to other members, so you build that community. That's really important. And then also training your staff to understand that people have that fear of gym. Or that fear of going into a fitness space. I walked into a gym and I saw one of the trainers sitting outside, and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I've got a new client coming in. I'm waiting for her in the parking lot so that she can see the friendly face and I can walk in with her so she doesn't feel overwhelmed." And that's that genuine entry point, that genuine connection. And the big thing is measure belongings, not just memberships. People look at memberships and they don't realize that after 3 weeks those members don't come back.
Yeah.
So don't see that as a win. See a person that shows up every week for a year, that they find that place where they belong, that sense of community, that sense of belonging, and creating those spaces within your and the gym scene is changing. It's becoming more of a fitness club, a social club, a health club. So going out there and experiencing that is really important as well, and allowing people to feel that sense of connection makes a big difference.
Oh, I love what you just said. People always ask, why do we love our gym, the gym that I go to? And I always go, and we had this conversation with my producers, that we have a little community there. We're not friends, but, we're cordial. Good morning, how are you? We ask, hey, Liesel, how's work?
Yes.
And we hold each other accountable. People will come up to you and go, Liesel, we didn't see you at the gym for 2 weeks. Where you been?
And that's the members holding you accountable.
Yes.
That's the sense of community. It's your gym buddies. You're not necessarily friends outside, but when you're in the gym, that's your community. And that's the role members also play. You forget what it feels like that first moment you walked into the gym and you felt that sense of overwhelm. And just by being that friendly face saying, hey, Bridget, we didn't see you in a week. Where have you been? Is everything okay? That sense is really a big sense of community.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I think we appreciate this conversation because it's April and there's always someone lagging behind. They have the intention to go to the gym this year and then they talk themselves out of it. So hopefully with the practical steps you've shared, specific around flipping the script, that you've motivated them to get up tomorrow and walk in the gym, even if it's just to have a smoothie and then walk out again. We live to try every day. Liesel, thank you so much for the time. That was Liesel van der Westhuizen, mental fitness and burnout business coach, broadcaster as well, and keynote speaker. Also another individual who is a slashy. 10 to 2 o'clock, time for us to get into Kids Corner.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM. This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Hello, my smart and responsible friends, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to another exciting episode of Kids Corner. Today, let's talk about staying safe when you're home alone, especially during the holidays. During these school holidays, do you sometimes stay home alone? How does it make you feel? What safety rules do you remember when you're home alone? What should you do if someone knocks on the door and you don't know them? Who can you call if you feel scared or need help while you're home alone? What are some safe and fun things you can do to keep yourself busy while at home alone? Alright friends, let's hear from some of our friends while you share your answers with the people next to you.
Good day, my name and surname is Apela Mpembe and I am 9 years old. Sometimes I stay home with my sister, but not for a long time. I am scared of staying home alone. Staying home with just my sister, it makes me feel a little bit grown up, but also I get a little nervous. I remember not to answer the door for strangers, not to tell anyone on the phone that I am alone, and to not use the stove. If someone knocks and I don't know them, I won't open the door. I might peek through the window to see who they are, but I won't let them in. If I feel scared, I can call my parents, a trusted neighbor, or a family friend. I can also call emergency services if it gets really serious. Safe things I can do to keep myself busy while I'm home alone with my sister. I can read a book, play with my toys, do some drawing, or watch a movie that my parents approve of. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Elanda Mzobe. I am 12 years old. During these school holidays, I don't stay home alone. It makes me feel more comfortable and happy than being alone at home. Safety rules I do remember when I am at home alone. Sometimes I remember to lock the door. Don't open for people you don't know. Don't answer calls you don't know, and avoid people calling you and trying to be close to you. What should you do if someone knocks on the door and you don't know them? Never open. If that person tries to break in, you should take your phone, app someone you trust, or you can even call the police. What are some safe things I can do to keep myself busy while at home alone? I usually watch my phone or sometimes sit or sleep, watch TV. There are a lot of fun activities that can make you stop even overthinking things. Thank you, everyone.
Good day, my name and surname is Proko Shempembe. I'm 11 years old. Yes, sometimes I stay home alone. It makes me feel independent, but I always stay alert and cautious. Safety rules I remember when I'm home alone are to remember to lock all the doors, not tell anyone I'm alone, and to avoid using kitchen appliances that could be dangerous. If someone knocks and I don't know them, I won't open the door. Instead, I'll check through the peephole or window, and I will call my parents if needed. If I feel scared or need help while you are alone at home, I can call my parents, a trusted neighbor, or a close relative if I feel scared or need help. Safety things I do to keep myself busy while at home alone are reading books, do some drawing or crafts, listen to music, or work on a puzzle to keep myself busy. Thank you.
Some of the things that I do when I'm home alone to keep myself safe are I lock the doors, and if anyone comes to the gate, I usually say that my parents aren't here or there's no one to assist them. I think it's really important that when anyone, like a child, is home alone, that they remember not to open the door for strangers and remember to lock the doors and that kind of stuff. I'm not really usually scared when I'm home alone. It's like normal because I know nothing is going to happen to me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Deborah Martin. No, I do not sometimes find myself home alone. My parents do not like leaving me or my siblings alone. They say I am small and they think that I'll injure myself if I am left alone. If I am left alone, I'll be scared because I'll think strangers can come and steal me. If I am left alone, I'll be more scared because it will be.
Hello, my name is Munei Angel Nangabera. Yes, I do sometimes find myself home alone. Some of the things that I do to make sure that I am safe while I'm home alone is that I always check if the stove is on, because I don't want to get the house spent or something like that, and the heater, and if my hands are wet or something, I don't play with electricity things such as plugs or put my fingers inside there, because I can get choked when I'm home alone if I don't know. I don't get scared when I'm home alone, because when I'm home alone there's a television, you've got a mobile phone, so if you want to use the TV, I just watch some cartoons or some videos that I want to watch, and then if I'm using my mobile phone, I just play my games there and download more. If I have been never ever been in home alone, I won't be scared if I was left in the house alone, because like there's so many things to do, such as the ones that I mentioned, or playing in the garden, or everywhere where you wanna be. Thank you, and have a lovely day.
Thank you, friends. It's always great to hear from you. And to our friends listening, I hope you shared your answers with the people next to you. During school holidays, some children may spend time at home alone, and that can feel different for everyone. Some may feel excited and independent, while others might feel a little nervous or unsure, especially if it's your first time. Both feelings are completely normal. What's important is knowing how to stay safe and confident while you're on your own. There are important safety rules to remember when you're home alone. Always keep the doors and windows locked. Do not open the door for strangers. And never tell someone outside that you're home alone. If someone knocks at the door and you don't know them, shh. It is best to stay quiet and not answer. You can also call a trusted adult to let them know what's happening. If you ever feel scared or need help, it is important to know who you can contact. You can call your parent, guardian, a neighbor, or another trusted adult. It is always a good idea to have important phone numbers nearby so that you can easily reach out if needed. To stay busy and safe while home alone, you can do activities that do not put you in danger. You can read a book, do homework, draw, watch a safe TV program, play games, or listen to music. Avoid doing anything risky like using the stove, handling sharp objects, or opening the door for anyone. Being home alone also teaches responsibility and independence. By following safety rules, staying calm, and keeping yourself busy with safe activities, you can feel more confident and secure. Remember, friends, you are never truly alone. There are always people you can call for help. Staying safe, making good choices, and knowing what to do in different situations will help you feel strong and in control, even when you're all by yourself. That's it for today, friends. See you next time.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Top stories: to Sergeant Nkosi's case postponed, and Mshe rejects political interference in TRC cases. Good afternoon, I'm Kulufelo Tefo. We begin in court at the Pretoria North Magistrate, where the case against Sergeant Tshwane Nkosi has been postponed to the 13th of this month. Nkosi's arrest follows a raid at his property in Pretoria on Thursday last week. He is facing a string of charges, including defeating the ends of justice, possession of illegal ammunition, as well as failure to properly secure firearms and ammunition in terms of the Firearms Control Act, Session 90 reports.
Sergeant Tshwane Nkosi's name featured prominently at the Madlanga Commission, which resumed this morning, whilst he made his first appearance in court after spending the Easter weekend behind bars. His case was postponed to Monday next week for a formal bail application and to allow the state time for further investigations. It's believed Nkosi was allegedly a middleman or runner for high-ranking SAPS officials in their dealings with alleged cartel members Vusimuzi Katmatlala and Katiso Katie Molefe. He was also allegedly involved in tender manipulation at the Tshwane Metro Municipality. Sasha Naidu, SABC News at the Pretoria North Magistrates Court.
Meanwhile, the Madlanga Commission has heard Nkosi had no authority to interfere with procurement-related matters in the Tshwane Metro Police Department. This is contained in the department's chief, Yolande Farah's testimony before the Commission in Pretoria. Nkosi, who spent the Easter long weekend behind bars, was believed to be a middleman between top officials involved in tender procurement processes in the city of Tshwane. Farah says this is despite him not being an employee of the municipality.
He has no authority. He had no permission. I was not aware that he is busy interfering. I don't know Sergeant Nkosi. I never made contact with him. The first time I saw Sergeant Nkosi was on the Madlanga Commission. So I want to state it categorically. He had no authority to interfere in any TMPD procurement-related matters.
Former acting NDPP advocate Mokotedi Mshe has denied acting on political instruction when he removed former head of the NPA's Priority Crimes Litigation Unit, Advocate Anton Ackerman, from dealing directly with TRC cases. Mshe, who acted as NPA head between September 2007 and November 2009 following the suspension of NDPP Vusi Pikoli, was reacting to Ackerman's allegation. Mshe says the acrimony between Ackerman and various government department heads made cooperation on TRC cases difficult. Mshe also told evidence leader Advocate Mfundo Salukazana that the Reverend Frank Chikane's complaint about the NPA's handling of the prosecution of his 1981 poisoning case contributed to his decision.
Instead of just consulting me as the victim, he entered into an acrimonious argument with me about the approach of the government on post-TRC matters and the guidelines. From this interaction, it was clear that he was radically opposed to the guidelines as agreed upon by Cabinet and the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa.
The Mpumalanga High Court in Mbombela is expected to sentence 8 men, including a farmer and his stepson, for the brutal killings of 2 men at Pampunkral farm in Mkondo. The deceased Sfiso Twala and Musa Nene were brutally killed in 2020 after they were accused of stealing sheep from the farm. The accused were found guilty of murder, attempted murder, kidnapping and defeating the ends of justice. Zenzele Yende, Verna Potgieter, Moses Lamini, Cornelius Grayling, Skumbuzo Nhlabati, Mzwakhe Dlamini and Nkosinathi Msibi pleaded not guilty to these charges. And finally, beyond our borders, there are reports of heavy fighting between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces in dealing in South Kordofan state. The army says it's reopened a key road linking the city to North Kordofan. The RSF fighters and their allies had blocked the route. This had complicated aid deliveries and triggered a humanitarian crisis in the region's second largest city. The BBC's Richard Kagowe.
The army is reported to have moved into dealing with heavy reinforcements, pushing into the eastern outskirts where it cleared the RSF blockade and reopened the road to North Kordofan. In January, the army had broken a nearly 2-year siege of Delling. South Kordofan remains one of the most fiercely contested fronts in Sudan's almost 3-year civil war, which has killed tens of thousands and displaced more than 11 million people.
Back home, the top story at 2. The case against Sergeant Fani Nkosi has been postponed to the 13th of this month at the Pretoria North Magistrates Court. For SFM News, I'm Kulofelo Defo.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
You could win a car. You could win a car. Everyone could win a car.
Spar Win a Car is back. Stand a chance to win one of 50 Hyundai Extras when you buy participating products like 1.8-litre Ola Rich and Creamy Ice Cream. Buy any 2 for 110. Save 40 Rand. Or 1-litre Danone Ultra Milk Custard. Buy any 2 for 50. Save 20 Rand. Price is valid from 23 March till 7 April. Shop, swipe and win. While stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
30-year-old Dineo knows all about saving on her car insurance with Outsurance.
I'm saving 1,094 rands.
That's an unbelievable 1,094 rand monthly saving on Dineo's 2025 Kia Sonet. And she'll get an out bonus.
If I'm claim-free for 3 years, then I get an out bonus back.
Ready to see how much money Outsurance could save you? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
All right, we are back to our regular adjusted programming to make room for the Madlanga Commission's live sessions. They've just come back from their lunch break and they continue with, of course, that testimony and evidence that's being shared by the Tshwane Metro Police Department's Commissioner Uyolande Faro, who's taken to the stand since this morning, sharing some of her experiences and insights on matters that have already been ventilated at the Madlanga Commission. So let's go back to Pretoria, and I see all your voice notes around the Madlanga Commission, around how to charge. We'll see whether or not, if there is a break, we will find some time to air those out. Otherwise, we'll revisit them at a later stage.
This is the Madlanga Commission update on SAFM.
Telling him that he should have taken action against that subordinate commissioner. So I will.
I understood that he did eventually, but the initial reaction was that there was resistance to his email. So maybe we can leave that there for now.
But I will still follow up, Commissioner Khumalo, just for my own sanity. Thank you, Commissioner. I think I'm now by 49.
Sorry, while we are on the point, I think in the next section you deal with Inspector Phiri. So the question I'm going to ask is, those letters, when Commissioner Spies showed us the letters, there were at least 2 of them that were not signed by Commissioner Phiri. They were signed by one person or 2 other people.
Yes.
And I would need to know why action is only taken against Phiri and not those 2 other people. So if you can just anticipate that and maybe deal with it as well.
Yes, I can deal with it, Commissioner Khumalo. Commissioner, as I said, we've launched the investigation. We are still busy with investigation. It's just now over this Easter period also. I've also wrote to the Commission requesting certain information as well to the Secretariat of the Commission, and I will follow up in that regard. But Commissioner, I can really assure you, it will not just be one person. Any person that's implicated, even if it takes for us a day or 2 or a week or 2 to come to that, we will obviously make sure that if a person was involved in matters that they shouldn't have, as I said, consequence management will be implemented. I can promise you that.
Because even people who process the payments, remember there's the request to the security company for ad hoc services, and it comes from Inspector Phiri. Now, when invoices come in and people process those payments, do they not care that Phiri was not authorized to issue those instructions? Why do they authorize payments running into millions, tens if not hundreds of millions, when the person who issued the ad hoc instructions was not authorized to do so?
Commissioner Khumalo, you're 100%. We know who processed it. We have the names of the people that from the whole food chain. I can guarantee you, we are busy with that investigation. We know exactly, I've requested through Internal Affairs the authorization. I requested who stamped it. I requested based on what. So yes, I can guarantee you, Commissioner Khumalo, we are busy. And then it is not the first or the second or the third person that we are dealing with. I promise you, we are really looking at it thoroughly. And as we look into it, Commissioner Khumalo, we also look into the process. It's no use we are dealing with the people that has done this, but the process we need to look at, and we need to correct the process. So we are doing both of that, Commissioner Khumalo. I can promise you that.
Commissioner, can I think just to exploit the discussion about Phiri, please turn to page 98 of the file you have in front of you, file 1.
98?
Correct. This is, as you suggest, part of the corrective measures. Correct?
Give me a minute, I'm pulling them out. That's correct.
Correct. Oh, let me wait for commissioners.
I have a different 98.
Apologies.
Okay, I'll give you my file when we finish and see what needs to be corrected.
My 98 is a document that starts at page 96, and it's a memorandum, tenders to be advertised. Do you have the same, Commissioner?
No, Commissioner.
You have a different document?
Commissioner Baloy, I have
Okay,
actually
I'll
the
share with the
pre-suspension
chair in the
letter.
meantime.
Apologies, Commissioner Kumalo. We'll resolve this issue. Thank you. You will see that.
I'm still Baloy.
Apologies.
Until further notice.
Apologies, Commissioners. At page 98 is a letter signed by yourself, notice of intention to suspend Piri, correct?
That's correct.
And at the bottom there is your signature, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And we know that the emails about stopping ad hoc services or security services happened, or the concern rather, on 12 March 2025, correct?
That's correct.
Will you explain why it takes a year to discipline Piri?
Commissioners, allow me just to just explain. Remember, I've requested Commissioner Spies to investigate. Then, I think by June 2025, he sent it to the internal cities guard department, which then also responded that there is, in terms of what they've read, that he can be disciplined. Then we sent it to the Internal Affairs Department of TMPD to do a thorough investigation in that regard. In terms of the TMPD, they then couldn't get certain information because we do not have access to certain information. It was then sent to Deputy Commissioner Dlamini, I think 30th of July. And then Deputy Commissioner Dlamini obviously did not send that documents further, bearing in mind he's responsible for internal affairs. In the meantime, Deputy Commissioner Spies was meeting with the Hawks, as well as he briefed me other departments. He met with them July, August, September, and October. They were then busy with the process, obviously to make sure that they get more evidence. For that moment, we did not want to disturb the process. Then Deputy Commissioner Spies followed up in terms of what happened to the document. And then obviously we've learned that Brigadier Danny Bernard did forward it to the head of that department, which is Deputy Commissioner Dlamini. And then we found out then, the documents was there by him. And then obviously upon finding that out, we put measures in place, and then obviously the systems. And we made sure then that in terms of other information that also came to our attention, that we had then enough also to what I pre-suspension and then suspension in that regard. The investigation, we haven't received the feedback obviously from the Hawks back and the other department that was busy with a parallel investigation. However, the process has been started, and we will now run with the process.
Advocate Sikakani, just to be fair to Commissioner Farrow, if you can go to file 8, this is what I was referring to. Commissioner Spies' statement starts on page 37 of that file.
Apologies, Commissioner, which page?
49.
49.
So his statement starts on 37.
Okay.
But if you go to page 12 of it, maybe on page 48. Are you there?
I am there.
You see the email he refers to is paragraph 41. That's the same email you were referring to. And then it continues, and then if you look at page 49 on paragraph 46, he says, during the following months, it was mentioned at monthly budget meetings that there were still payments of ad hoc guards as more invoices were submitted by one specific service provider, Gubis 85. I then issued a written instruction on 24 June 2025 to stop the deployment of ad hoc services and made clear that no more will be allowed beyond 1 July 2025. Do you see that? So it was not implemented in March, it was only implemented in July because he had been told that he can't do it by way of an email. There must be a written letter issued. So that's how the process unfolded.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. I will follow up on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm going to press on this point a bit. And because these are the problems that we see. What we have is a serious issue of someone who essentially causes about 13 million loss. But it takes a year to actually take action against them. What it would mean is that every time that he's at the office, apart from what you are able to find out, he's a risk, or he exposes the municipality or the TMPD. Would you accept that? And I'm not convinced of that there were these investigations for over a year, unless you can accept that it was truly an oversight of some sort on your part or Commissioner Spees' part. I cannot understand why it would take 12 months literally to discipline him for something so obvious.
I cannot accept that. I just explained that it is not that easy. It's a complex investigation. In terms of you need to look at the invoices, you need to make sure that you have all the evidence as well. The same with any investigation. If you're going to take the person, are you going to suspend the person and keep the person 12 months at home? The person is not in direct doing this, or is not doing this anymore. So he doesn't have control over doing that. So I had to also make sure if we want to, that is departments that is investigating and watching, I had to make sure that we do that as well. So at the moment, as I said, that we feel that we have now, over and above even what we have more than to actually go ahead with the case as well. And as I said, we are still waiting on other departments, but we can't wait on them, rightfully so. If it's any criminal matter, we cannot wait for the criminal investigation to conclude in order for us not to do departmental. In terms of the one that I will agree with is the one in terms of that it was emailed already on the 30th of July to the head of the department. And there should have been more engagement from the head, although Deputy Commissioner Spies has done his part by following up on a monthly basis. He even engaged with the external investigators on a monthly basis. So I cannot accept that Deputy Commissioner Spies failed in that regard. However, I'm also looking at the time frame. I'm looking at the 30th of July that it was mailed to the head of that unit, and I'm also looking at the bigger picture. So the investigations, the more, it's the same like it's here, the more you touch one thing, another thing comes up. So the investigation is vast. And as I said, we've also rightfully so, as the chairperson has said, we're also looking at other people in the food chain that was involved in this. It's not only the one person. So the more we investigate and we ask questions, the more names are popping up. So I'm requesting that we do the investigation. It is at a very sensitive point at this moment. And I'm even prepared to give the outcome and how far we came once we have now do the investigation into all the others as well, and also the consequence management.
I think, Commissioner, it seems that from the statement of Deputy Commissioner Spies, it does seem that there may have been speedy movement, because if you look at paragraph 47, Commissioner Khumalo referred you to 46. At 47,
yes.
This is where Commissioner Spies says he received an email from Gubis.
Yes.
And then that was on the 26th of June, 25. And then if you read, and then in 48, he becomes aware that Piri is the one that issued those letters. And then you read on the steps that he took, and then you get to 52, paragraph 52.
Yes, I'm there.
And then it says, on 30 July,
that is the one.
internal audit completed the report. This is about a month later. And request to Deputy Dlamini, Umashi Dlamini.
Yes.
And it seems Deputy Commissioner Dlamini is the one that sat with the report from the 30th of July, the way I read this paragraph, until the 10th of March 2026.
Yes.
Is that your understanding as well of what happened?
Thank you, Commissioner Baloy. That is the 30th of July that I referred to, that Brigadier Manar has forwarded to the head, which is you are 100% Deputy Chief Dlamini.
Yeah.
I'm also looking at that in that regard.
Yeah.
That is what I said, that allow me to investigate, and the reason why. Is it because with the person that we are supposed to discipline, that other things will come out? So allow me, because we are really advanced at the states in this regard. I'm talking about the internal investigation, not the one with the external ones.
Yes.
So I'm asking, allow me just to complete. I am prepared to give the feedback in this regard. That is also one of the things I'm looking in, Commissioner Baloy, you are 100%.
Yes. Well, I was going to suggest that perhaps it is for Deputy Commissioner Dlamini, when he comes to testify, to explain to Mr. Skakane why from the 30th of July 2025 he sat with this report until the 10th of March 2026.
And immediately when I received it, on the very same day, I actioned it.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Commissioner
Skakane.
Baloy.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloy. Please proceed.
It would seem that the rising costs largely emanated from unauthorized. I think I've read that 48, am I correct, Commissioners?
Please read it again.
You want me to read it again?
Yes.
Okay, I'll do that. It will seem that the rising costs largely emanated from unauthorized and irregular deployment of ad hoc security services by Inspector A.L. Piri. He had no authority to issue such directives. Deputy Commissioner Spies has already come before the Commission, and I believe he has provided the relevant context. It is clear that the large beneficiary of the irregular deployment is an entity called Gubis 85 Security Solutions Pty Ltd, to the tune of about or almost 14 million rand. I was not particularly aware of the role of Deputy Commissioner Dlamini and Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Gerrit Menisi, in all of this. I took and trusted them as dedicated officials. I placed reliance on their advisors, and they had never given me any reason to doubt or suspect them. I must say I was taken aback by what came also out of this commission. Then if I can go to the aftermath.
Apologies, just to clarify, at 48, when did you learn that Mr. Piri was not allowed or authorized to issue the directives or notice of deployment?
He is not at this level. And
I'm saying, when did you understand that?
When did I understand?
That he's not authorized.
When the Deputy Commissioner Species obviously has done his, and when he briefed me in terms of who has authorized this, and then I think it's also in his statement.
Okay, thank you. Please proceed.
Aftermath of stopping ad hoc services. Commissioners, I did touch on this, but I just wanted to read it into record as well. Upon my decision to stop the funds, I faced a smear campaign that questioned my qualifications and acceptance of a 45,000 Rand voucher. I do not understand at that point.
450,000.
450,000 Rand, yes, Commissioner. I did not understand at that moment, but in hindsight, I am of the opinion it stems from that decision of mine to stop the ad hoc deployment. I stood by my decision as I was doing it for the greater benefit of the city and TMPD. I'm referring to page 4, YF9. I later learned of the irregularities in the procurement and payment for the security services. Deputy Commissioner Spies has already come before the Commission, and I believe he has provided the relevant context. I have since taken measures to suspend Inspector A.L. Piri, who issued the further deployment letters as seen by Annexer YF10. In addition to this, consequent management is being implemented. Deputy Commissioner Damini is also currently on suspension. Allegations which derive from this commission are being thoroughly also investigated, and therefore I cannot elaborate further here in order to protect the integrity of these investigations, as I already alluded to. And this is not only from the commission, this is just added. There's also, as I said, what I discovered, what we discovered in terms of the investigation.
Now, why are you only looking at further deployment letters? Why are you not auditing past deployment letters? Because it looks like your scope is narrow here. If you are only looking at somebody who issued further deployment letters, this suggests that those that were issued before the decision, you ignoring those.
We did not find any other than the two. But we are also looking historically, and we are looking at that with the internal affairs. They are looking at historically, and they're looking at, we want the scope to be as wide as possible, Commissioner Kumalo. Even if we must go back and really come to the bottom of this, we are really going back. Really, the information that we are requiring, some is difficult to acquire. However, we are not going to back down.
Because it looks
we are not
like,
going to back down.
It looks like there was no accountability, at least in terms of, as I understand it, the way these ad hoc deployments work. These were emergency services. So yes. if you need emergency guarding services at a water plant or at a facility of the city, there would be these letters that are issued. But there doesn't seem to be any monitoring of service levels to determine whether what Gubis tells you. If Gubis says, for example, we employed 13 security guards at this reservoir, it doesn't seem like anybody checked that that was in fact the case, that it was in fact 13 guards at this price per guard. And I mean, this is public funds. People just approved invoices without checking service levels, without, enforcing if there were breaches of some of these service levels. There were no consequences because it looks like these companies continued providing services. In fact, to this day, they continue to provide services, just not additional ad hoc services.
Commissioner, if you go as far back, you will find that, yes. That is why I said the moment it was handed over, find out the complexity of this, put measures in place, that is ongoing. So you are correct. In the past, I couldn't find that there's a measure in place. In terms of checking up and making sure contracted services that where you deploy, you must have uniform, you must have this equipment. Are you there? Is it the right amount of staff? And then the level. Is it the A grade, B grade? That is one of the things that we also are checking. To make sure, surprise visit, that at any given time, the guards that is supposed to be in terms of the service level agreement are there. And penalty clauses must be implemented. The penalty clauses is very important. So if you found it is against the SLA, you need to activate the penalty clause that is in the SLA. So Commissioner Kumali, you are correct. Those were some of the things that we found that was lagging and that we correcting in terms of moving forward.
Thank you. Just before we move to the next section, you are saying that you are still investigating all of these things internally, correct?
Correct.
And obviously, it would seem that until such time you finish the investigation, you wouldn't know how far the road goes, if we were to call it a road. Correct?
It is not such a big section.
Okay.
It's not a big section that is dealing with the matter.
So the investigations are going to be concluded?
Definitely, definitely. It's not a big section, so we, in the meantime, has put measures in place also mitigating. And we're not waiting for the investigation to be concluded. So we are busy also putting as I said, it runs parallel, but it's not a big section. And we know exactly who, and then we are really at the end of this investigation in terms of bringing the others to book as well.
Thank you. Commissioners, I think it's just so that we follow the correspondence around the stoppage of these ad hoc services, so that just in the interest of time, can I refer you to file 3?
Yes, I have it.
That will help you. Okay.
I've got it. Right.
Page, Mr. Skakane?
Page 337.
337.
Oh, right at the beginning.
At the beginning. If you go, I think, with the sequence of emails, you go to 343.
Is it file 3?
File 3, yes.
On page?
343, or starting from 342 at the bottom.
I'm starting by 657.
657?
Yes.
File 3.
So,
yeah. Yes.
Mine is at 657. No, it's not a question.
Is file 3, Commissioners. 342 at the bottom, that's an email. Commissioner Farah, are you there?
342?
342 at the bottom.
Yes, I'm there.
I'm just trying to make sure we all follow. So this is the email from Umashi Dlamini. to Commissioner Rivo's piece, copying amongst others yourself, Deputy Commissioner Boles, and somewhere in the bottom, Chugudu Malachi. And then in that email, this is where he's asking essentially that there must be more funding.
Yes.
And he explains that there's an increased usage of ad hoc services. And then at page 342, the response from Commissioner Spies is to ask 3 minutes later who approved or mandated the ad hoc services. Correct?
That's correct.
Correct. And you were still copied in that. There's absolutely no trick with what I'm doing. It's just so that we follow that discussion we were having, because I think we got broken somehow in understanding the sequence. At page 341, that's at the bottom, that's your email. Can I take it COP means Chief of Police?
Commissioner of Police.
Okay, Commissioner of Police. At the bottom, you then write to Umashi Dlamini and Commissioner Spies, and you say, you express shock about that there's 30 additional sites just for January. And you ask who approved this, and you ask Commissioner Boles. Can you just maybe explain that to us, perhaps in the understanding of ad hoc sites as the debate has been had?
You want me to explain the email?
Correct, your shock around this thing, so that we just follow as we go.
It took me 7 minutes to respond to this email, what I read in the 2 emails. I've then wanted to know the 30 additional sites only for January 2025. I see there's 4 exclamation marks. And then who approved this? The reason why I said Deputy Commissioner Boles, remember, he was still January and February overseeing APSS. Deputy Commissioner Spies only started 1st of March. Then I wanted to know, did he approve it, DC Boles? Then I said, I'm not signing off any documentation or requesting additional funds. That moment I was in Mako, and I said, I'm currently in Mako. I'm not going to entertain this. DC Spies, please launch investigation in this regard, because he was appointed the first, this is 11 days after he was appointed. Then I also then again responded, added to the below email, this behavior must stop as it will cause audit queries, which will not only affect the department, but the COT as a whole. I'm not going to request additional budget for unauthorized ad hoc sites. I will request an investigation and consequence management. 2 reports must be drafted. 1, and that is obviously after he investigated the authorized ad hoc sites, and then also the unauthorized. The authorized ones are easy because we are aware of it. Then I again, a few minutes after that, sent another mail to say, Deputy Commissioners, please stop any ad hoc deployment until the correct procedure determined by you have been implemented, bearing in mind there is no additional funding already. Then I actually, Commissioner Kumalo, I actually referred to this email. And further to the ad hoc C deployment, that is the response from Rivo Spies, obviously to Malatsi. Cease deployment if guards, stop the deployment of all ad hoc guards as with effect tomorrow morning. That is why this was actually the email that I referred to Commissioner Kumalo, where he then immediately, you see that is on the 12th, just a few minutes after I sent the email, actually 4 minutes, that he actually gave that instruction. The one that, Commissioner, that you alluded to, that he gave him that lip, I was not aware of that, because that will be between him and his immediate Deputy Commissioner. But as I said, I want to look into that as well.
So that formal letter is on 347.
Yes, Commissioner.
And
I've
the
seen
point
this.
was that the 12 March email was ignored. So Malachi ignored it, did not implement it. Reasons were given that it can be in an email, it has to be in a formal letter, and that formal letter you see followed 3 months later.
Yeah.
3.5 months later, and it's on page 347.
I do see that, Commissioner, and as I said, I want to look into that as well. Thank you, Commissioner.
Perhaps it would be unfair to ask you, it should have been an issue that Commissioner Spies would have explained.
Yes.
If you say immediate,
yes,
why does it take
Yes.
another 2 or 3 months?
No, I'm going to look into that definitely.
To then
Yes.
action that?
Yes.
Because these are the things we just say it's going to take time,
Yes.
and then I think Commissioner Kumar was saying then, it's public funds that are
Yes.
being used.
Oh, definitely.
Correct.
I do agree.
Mr. Sikakani, we've learned in this commission that immediately does not mean immediately.
At least, Commissioner, my immediate is immediate. But be rest assured, I'm going to look into all of this because that was my instruction to everyone. I will look into that definitely. I expect if I give instruction, everybody must follow it.
Thank you, Commissioner Kumalo. I was restraining myself from highlighting immediately. And then if you go to page 338.
Still the same file?
Same file, yes. This is just the last point.
Let's give the page again.
338.
338. And then?
Now, this is what comes under cover this email, correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
And when you see it, and apologies for jumping around, when you see it, you see two things. What you see is that this is in January, so it seems
Yes.
alone.
Yes.
You've got Trautic Protection Services that has ad hoc sites.
Yes.
Then we have Mohalahadi Security.
Yes.
And then we've got Gubis 85 Solutions Security.
That's correct.
Which has sites, according to this, up to 37.
That's correct.
Which total 14 million. And obviously we understand that there would have been 22 companies or
Yes.
service providers. Just at the time, did it strike you that Gubis seems to have been this efficient or favored?
That is part of the investigation.
No, I'm saying at the time.
Yeah, definitely when I saw it, definitely. Definitely.
And then just to follow up, with the investigation, how would it cover whether actually the invoices or the actual deployments, if they say they had 2 guards, how would we know that they actually had 2 guards? Or they just did not have anyone else?
Exactly.
Is that part of your
That
investigation?
is definitely part of my investigation. To, as I said, what is the reasoning for 20 additional? So we are looking at it. What is the reasoning for that? Where were they? Attendance, everything we're looking into. We're definitely looking into all of those.
And so, would I then be correct, or maybe I'm wrong, to say that previously there wasn't a method to double check that, perhaps? Or it was there?
They have the personnel that must do that checks.
Also, there are people
Yeah,
that do the
there
checks.
is people that must do the checks. Contract services that must do the checks to see. Does it, as I said, also ad hoc, let me not use ad hoc, surprise visit, just to see also in terms of, I've explained it in terms of the SLA, you must have the SLA with you. The SLA is very detailed. To see if you are in uniform, the equipment that you must have, the type of guard that you must have, also the amount of guards that you must have there. Because we are aware that you must maybe have 5, but then you deploy 2. So we are aware of that. So you have that component that must check on that.
Okay.
Yes.
No, thanks.
Second, before you leave this page, Commissioner Faro, just so that it doesn't look like this commission is picking on Gubi's security for whatever reason. I can't remember where I read this, and you don't have to give us a detailed answer now, but I just need clarity on the three entities that we see on page 338. Are you also investigating whether or not any of those entities are owned by city officials?
We're looking at everything, Commissioner Kumalo.
Because in one of the documents I have seen, I cannot remember which one, there was an allegation made that the first one there, Triotic, is owned by city officials, as in City of Tshwane officials. That may or may not be true, but my question is simply whether you are investigating that as well.
And then, Commissioner, we will do our investigation in terms of obviously the allocation, etc. When the CFO comes, they have all the information of that security company. I would prefer that you also pose that question to the CFO. I would really prefer that. But in terms of our investigation, we're obviously looking also at you have the 22 companies, and then we look at the how regular and how many, and then that will also be part of our questions, definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely, Commissioner Kumalo.
But I thought Commissioner Kumalo was asking, does your investigation include investigating ownership of these companies that are on your panel?
Obviously, we are looking into all of that, because we as you said, I've read in the supply chain management policy when I started, and it says you must not, one of it says that you must not, conflict of interest, must be, so we're taking the supply chain management policy and see, was there any contravention also from the site, and so that we can have a more detailed type of investigation. As I said, we don't want to, we are not only zooming in, if we are one by one now consequence managed, it doesn't mean we are just dealing with a one person. We have to now start from A and end at Z. We have to get it right. So yes, Commissioner Baloy, we are looking into every single thing. I can promise you that.
Just to assist Commissioner Kumalo, I think it has been in the media. If I may refer you, just out of interest, on that Triotic. Yes, that's file 6.
Bundle 6.
Page 548. It's part of the chats that was shared.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. On 549, that's, yeah.
Yes, that's what I just wanted to locate, your understanding perhaps. I didn't intend to at least go through this at this point in time. Thank you.
Yes.
Please put that file away, yes.
Yes. It's on the screen.
Okay. Could you please then continue from page 55 of your statement?
Sorry, we put away file 3.
I will then continue with TMPD 01, 2024/2025, land invasion. Tender TMPD 01-2024-2025 relates to the procurement of services for the monitoring and prevention of illegal land and building occupation, as well as the demolition of any illegal structures. The appointment will be for 3 years on an as and when required basis, meaning only when there is land invasion, so you will, and then those that must patrol to prevent the land invasion, it will obviously be the hotspots. I attach a copy of the invitation to the bid marked as YF11. The tender advertisement request, we call it a TAR or TAR, was signed off by me on the 27th of May 2024. I then appointed Brigadier Sipho Sebastian Nkomo and Brigadier J. Mabunda as the departmental representatives at the Bid Evaluation Committee, BAC. The reason why I appointed Brigadier Nkomo, he was that time acting Deputy Commissioner of Specialized Services. And Brigadier Mabunda is the head of land invasion.
Commissioner Farrow, you're confusing me now. When I asked you this earlier, you said only the city manager can make these appointments. Now you are saying to us, I appointed these people as representatives to the BEC.
This is in terms of the TAR.
But what's the difference?
The TAR is the tender advertisement request this is one page that I sign off. So in terms of this, it should be the city manager, yes.
You are confusing me. Who appoints members of the BEC? Remember, that was my earlier question, and you said, no, it can't be you or the CFO, it's the city manager. Does this not suggest that you appointed? Or does it mean nominate?
Nominate.
You nominate and then the city manager appoints?
Nominate.
Or approves?
Commissioner Kumalo, nominate.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. The tender procurement process, I will just correct there, Commissioner Kumalo. The tender procurement process was successfully concluded, and ultimately 8 bidders were awarded a tender. Then, the tender process was also subjected to probity. Probity review is done by group audit and risk. They check that the process was followed correctly in appointing these 8 companies. I do not know how the tender was evaluated. However, Brigadier Sipho Nkomo will then also come before this committee so that he can just also put it more into context. He will only be giving evidence in terms of that entire process. I do not know how the tender was evaluated, and he will also assist, he assisted with technical expertise on behalf of TMPD. And he will be able to give more context in this regard once he appears before the Commission. Concluding remarks. In conclusion, I wish to reiterate that my tenure as Commissioner of the TMPD has been guided by a steadfast commitment to the principles of integrity, as well as transparency and the rule of law. Since my appointment, I have endeavored to ensure that the TMPD operates not only as an efficient and effective law enforcement agency, but also as a responsible organ of state that adheres strictly to the procurement frameworks set out in the Constitution and the MFMA. I have a specific duty to report corruption under Section 34 of the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act 2004. And I'm not only doing it because if I fail, it could result in a 10-year prison sentence. I do it because that is the right thing to do. The Independent Police Investigative Directorate, also known as IPID, in terms of the IPID Act 2011, is broader. Section 29 requires all SAPS members, and commissioners, we are appointed under the SAPS Act 68 of 1995, to notify IPID immediately after becoming aware of graft or other cases falling within IPID's mandate. Contraventions carry also up to 2 years imprisonment.
Have you reported any matters to IPID?
We're going to do that, Commissioner, I promise you. As I said, our investigation, we already reported to other organs of state, as I said. We are going to, when the investigation is eventually concluded, we are going to make sure any contravention that was there in terms of any law act, we will report it and report it to the national organ of state. What we've picked up, Commissioner, is if you start charging people, they resign and then they just go to somewhere else. And then everybody just leave the case and nothing comes of it because the person has left the employ of whatever municipality. We are not going to allow that. We will still pursue any other contravention and any act. That is what I've given to my investigating head to do. That is now acting Deputy Commissioner Tshwane Metro.
Yes, I think my question is more general than specific. I think in your testimony earlier in the day, you said that you've had cases of members of TMPD being arrested for different things. And one of the examples you gave was bribery, for example. And so my question, it being general, is do you have any cases, not necessarily arising from these procurement matters that we are concerned with now, but do you have any pending matters that have been reported to IPID and that IPID is handling in respect of the TMPD?
Definitely, Commissioner. We also have a quarterly meeting with IPID.
Yes.
And as I didn't actually answer Commissioner Khumalo when you asked, do we implement the recommendations? Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
You offered to deal with it in a supplement.
But I just wanted to say, yes, all the recommendations coming from IPID, I also get the reports. And I make sure that is one of the things that I monitor to make sure that we implement it. So
and
yes,
I'm assuming in your supplementary you can give us the statistics.
I'll do that, definitely.
You can say, for example, over the past 3 years,
definitely,
there were this number of IPID recommendations. All of them were implemented. Those that were not implemented,
definitely.
what's the reason?
May I correct you, Commissioner Khumalo? Can I have it from the 1st of October 2023? That was under my...
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Khumalo. You are so kind. Thank you.
Commissioner, you rightly point out or lament that people resign, and then that's the end of that matter. But isn't the solution to that matters must be reported to the SAPS?
Definitely.
As I've understood it, with Ekurhuleni, in respect of Ekurhuleni, similar cases, it's that complaints, and I think Commissioner Spies, as he then was, referred matters to the SAPS, and then those matters were then referred to IPID. From the SAPS, they go to IPID. Isn't that what should be the practice, in fact, the way to circumvent people escaping criminal prosecution or consequences for what is effectively criminal conduct, that complaints should be lodged with the SAPS? And that way a person resigns, they get out of the clause of the IPID, but they remain under police jurisdiction. Have you considered?
You are 100% Commissioner Baloy. As I alluded when I did my background, I'm also the chair of the National Commissioners Forum of the country. We even took that matter up at the national level. We don't only want it to happen at TMPD. What we also do, we deregister you as a Metro Police officer or more a traffic officer, so that you can't also jump to go from one department. And we're also looking at the database that we can also share that information. So you are correct. And also we said we don't want to wait on the South African Police Service and IPID or whoever is investigating to give us a feedback. We need to follow up. And if we see that it stays too long with a person, you can follow up with a senior. We need to start following up and not leave it and say, I'm waiting on IPID, I'm waiting on the South African Police Service. We need to trace our case numbers, and we need to trace our cases that we report. So that is what we as the commissioners of the country also want to, busy with actually, and we're looking at standardizing it on a national level. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Now, paragraph 61. In my commitment, I have taken proactive steps, including the instruction of new control measures to mitigate the risk of irregular expenditure and to safeguard the city's resources. Given what I've learned, I believe it is important that we continue to pay close attention to procurement processes and internal interferences in the manipulation on ongoing process within the TMPD. That must also be done without interference from the person that maybe wants to claim I'm monitoring, but then you interfere as well. I remain fully committed to assisting this commission in its mandate. I hope that the information and documentation provided in the statement, supplemented by the testimonies of deputy commissioners and officials I have designated, and the supplementary homework that I've received, I'm just adding that, Commissioner Kumalo, my homework that I received will provide the necessary clarity on the matters under inquiry. I would also like to highlight to the Commission to assist in protecting those that expose fraud and corruption and any form of irregularities because of what I have experienced. One becomes a target as soon as you expose corrupt activities. And I'm sure after I've appeared in front of this commission, it will not stop. However, commissioners, I will do this over and over again. I would also want to make use of this opportunity to thank the commissioners and all the evidence leaders and everyone behind the scenes. If it was so much intense for me in terms of making sure that you give your statement is there and your evidence and making sure you meet regularly with the evidence leader, I really can not even imagine how much it be for the commissioners that sits here on a daily basis. I really want from my side to thank you for what you are doing for the country and for the province of Gauteng, and I wish that this can be rolled out after Gauteng to all the municipalities within the borders of South Africa. Thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity that I could have be a witness in front of this commission and also have given some clarity and also some information in terms of what was in the statement and then also the evidence that was attached. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. I think we might have missed the boat, but I think we had started with that. We'll let Commissioner Faro go through her statements and then be not as interruptive, but I think we took some time interrupting. In the interest of time, there are areas that I would like to probe with. I will not go to too much detail in the interest of time.
Commissioner, thank you for your remarks.
Kriel bids emotional farewell to the Bulls, and SASCOC set to unveil Commonwealth Games incentives in June. More details at 3:30.